Sunday main slate. And I will say this is probably the thing Sheets is least excited about with all the sports going on. Am I right about that, Sheets?
They have a main slate this Sunday?
The big slate on Sunday. Sheets is looking for, he's ready for the Saturday showdowns. He's ready for, I'm sure there's some tennis. Well, I guess there's not tennis or anything, but there's got to be some other.
No, tennis is freaking on hiatus till January, till the Adelaide and the Australian stuff. It's the last.
Right. I forgot about that.
It's the last MMA slate of the year. But actually, Sunday, there's very little else going on except for that on Sunday, so I may as well play NFL Sunday slate.
Yeah, why not? All right, let's get into it. Let's start off. We're going to go game by game here, and I believe you have Atlanta and Carolina.
So first of all, a little context. So because there is a 3-game Saturday slate and a Thursday, and there might be 2 Monday games. I'm not sure, but there are 10 games on. There only a 10-game slate on Sunday. So it's a little. Listen, we've had 10-game slates before, but we've had bigger ones. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The weather, I don't know what the weather's like right now, but in general, the later you get in the season, the more the discrepancy between the weather makes a difference. If it's going to be cold in September, nobody cares.
Right.
But if it's going to be cold in December, people do care. But even with weather games, remember, it's more about the wind that will affect anything than anything else. I've seen snow games, guys go off. I've seen rain games, guys go off. I've seen cold games, guys go off. But the wind games, especially with the crosswinds, those are the ones to keep an eye on. And I say that without even knowing what's going on this week as far as weather goes. I will also say that there's a 10-game. Looks like it's a 10-game slate. That means 20 teams. And first look, I think there are only 5 teams in play. So again, that kind of will change across during the week, where probably by the end of the week I'm playing, 60%, Jets or something like that. But meanwhile, I shouldn't even be sarcastic about that, because that might not be a bad idea.
No.
But in any case, I guess we're ready to just go game by game.
Yeah, let's do it. I think you got Atlanta, Carolina first. I don't mind jumping in and starting off this one, because I think this is a pretty narrow thing for me. It's definitely not a game I'm looking to target. We finally got the Desmond Ridder big performance last week to Drake London. And I don't know about Ridder, but I'm definitely London is only 5,400. And I love Bijan Robinson this week. This is the worst run defense in football. They've been leaning more on Bijan. I think Bijan is a tremendous play. I think Drake London is a decent play. And I think that Chuba Hubbard and Adam Thielen are considerable. But I don't think that either of them are going to end up making it for me.
I think it's a game environment. I don't think it's a really game you want to stack, but I think it's a game that you could, get pieces of, and you've kind of identified the main ones. Bijan Robinson, I have rated as actually, if not the top running back, pretty close. Definitely in the top 5. And I don't have actually Drake London rated as highly this week as I did last week, but we'll see. I guess again, it's the flow chart thing. I guess against Carolina, you're just more inclined to try to run the ball, whereas last week against Tampa, you were more inclined to throw the ball. So,
yeah, especially at home indoors, and this game is supposed to be raining, so it's a little different.
Yeah, so it does feel like definitely a Bijan type of environment. So I like that. As far as Carolina, I'm not really seeing too much. So this is a game that I could probably, I don't say X, but not spend that much time on. Okay, there's Hubbard. All right, that's fair enough. He's in the top. He's not that much below these other guys. So yeah, okay, I think he's in play. And that he can also take stuff out of the backfield if they're behind. So yeah, I like that. So both running backs from this game are my top picks.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Now the question I have for you, Sheets, is, boy, the Steelers haven't had a 300-yard passer in God million years or whatever, and Joe Flacco comes back from literally 5 years away, it feels like, and immediately goes for 300 yards. How does this happen in the NFL? I don't understand why these guys don't. I mean, I guess maybe they don't want it. I understand it, but there are guys like Flacco out there. For a while, obviously there was the I don't know why I can't think of the most influential person that's happening in our sports thing right now, but I'm talking about San Francisco, the Niners old quarterback. It just is a wild to me. So I just wanted to mention that. But I don't think outside of maybe DJ Moore, and that is not a good matchup for DJ Moore. I just think he's become one of the best 10 receivers in football. I don't really think I want to do anything here. Do you?
No. It's funny. I was scrolling throughout the ledger because you started off your summary by saying I don't remember the last time Pittsburgh had a 300-yard quarterback, and I'm like, Pittsburgh, where are they?
Oh, because I was saying Flacco. I was like, how does a guy like Flacco just come off the street and do it? I should have let up because Flacco came out and threw for 300 yards for Cleveland. But I'm just saying he was
right. No, so I'm so confused. Where the hell is Pittsburgh? And then I'm like, and then you said Flacco, and I'm like, oh, I'm in the wrong order. I don't really think I want to go back to Flacco this week, and I really don't want to go to the receivers. I think that you can make a case for Fields and DJ Moore. Again, the matchup is obviously abysmal, but if they're gonna be pass rushing, you know what that means? It means that Fields is scrambling, and when you're scrambling, you have the right to rack up some fantasy points. So I currently am not gonna make it a priority. That's not one of my 5 teams, but certainly can argue for it. And I'm trying to see if Jerome Ford rates to be decent this week. I don't really see him as one of the top plays, so I'm gonna there he is. He's just below some of these guys. I think that's reasonable. So I will say Jerome Ford for Cleveland as my top play from this game. And you could always play DJ Moore.
Yeah. I did want to mention, I forgot to mention Njoku, who broke the slate last week, had the monster tight end game that we've sort of been waiting for. And I never like to play Flacco because he's never been a guy who traditionally threw to tight end. So that's why I sort of didn't think about it. Then I forgot, boy, what do they do with Njoku? They run these long, deep routes, and that's all of Flacco's, that's what he throws. That's what he wants to throw. I also want to revisit a guy I didn't mention. I think maybe Elijah Moore is a better play than I gave him credit for. I think that's actually probably so Moore or Njoku. I could talk myself into that. But both Moores, Elijah and DJ, I think are both very playable.
Yeah, Flacco, man, he stays in the league and he's like, dude, I don't care who I'm playing. I'm just going to sling it down the field.
Yeah, I'm going to throw it 40 yards in the air and see if my guy can grab it.
I mean, I've made my money. If I'm not mistaken, I have a Super Bowl MVP in my trophy case. Maybe
that's possible. Super Bowl ring. I don't think I think the MVP somehow went to the whole defense that year.
Oh, was it? It could be.
It might
But nonetheless, I mean, he's like over it. He's going to go back and he's going to just sling it down the field. So anyway, I guess we'll move on. So Tampa against Green Bay. I guess Rachaad White again is going to look like he always looks like a good play, and never like a great play. Let me see. Yeah, I have him a little bit below some of these other guys. Well, maybe a little bit above Chuba Hubbard, but definitely in play. I am not getting to too much else. So wait a minute. So even on a point per dollar basis, I have Mayfield like 6th. Okay, so Jordan Love, I have him rated like probably the 4th best quarterback. I don't know. There's got to be better games than games in Green Bay in December. That's the best I can describe this. So I'll probably let someone else take the good place in this game.
And Green Bay just lost for the first time in December in 5 years. So I'm trying to figure this. The thing that makes this really appealing to me, if you did want to stack it, one is you have again pass funnel defense to some extent with Tampa Bay, at least to a pretty big extent, and you've got all these same cheap receiver. You've got. I mean, my favorite would be Jaden Reed, but they've lost Wicks and they've lost Watson. And they've lost the tight end in Musgrave. So you have just all the work going to Tucker Kraft, Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Reed, if Wicks is out. Wicks is still questionable. And then they do have Malik Heath at 3K. You could even scramble and put in the mix, and you run it back with Rachaad White and or Mike Evans. I think you have an interesting little game stack. I have to double-check the temperatures before game time and all that stuff because it does usually get cold and the games tend to slow down. But I think this actually has a really good shot. So I'm going to say this is the first game that I feel like I want to stack a little bit of. Just because you do that, you do the double stack or the triple stack. I probably wouldn't go triple stack on a full slate, but you play Tucker Kraft or Jaden Reed and Dobbs or Jaden Reed and Kraft or Dobbs and Kraft. You have all the money in the world to spend, even if you play Evans or Rachaad White on the other side. So I think it's actually a really, really reasonable stack just because the pricing. So Green Bay and Tampa, my first game that I'm interested in stacking. Although I'm not interested in Baker on the road. I think this could be a very, very ugly game for Baker.
Okay, so Jets Miami. I would like to start with this. Now, listen, I played a big amount of Tyreek Hill just like everybody else last week. Okay, but I've been saying this the whole season. When Tyreek Hill goes off his chalk, every game he gets hurt. Okay, he has to sit out a couple of plays every single game. Usually,
the other one he sat out like a half though.
Right. Usually he comes back, but it's whenever you play him, it's like really, really nerve wracking whenever he like limps off the field. And this past game, he sat out like a whole half. Okay. This past game this weekend at 90% ownership, by the way. So he's listed as day to day, and I have to say that if they didn't lose the last game, I would say that this would be a perfect game for them to try to sit him. You know, they're the number one.
They would never do it because he's in MVP consideration. He will never allow it to happen.
I get it, okay, but it's the MVP consideration. But I mean, they're fighting for the number one seed in the freaking AFC. I mean, I think there's more important things than that.
I actually think for a team like them, they would be sending the wrong message. Part of why Tyreek's thing is like he loves all that stuff. You know what I mean? And he never had that with the Chiefs. Anyways.
All right. So in any case, so Miami did end up losing, and so now they don't. I don't even think they are the number one seed anymore. They might be, but so now they're a 100-point favorite again against the Jets. And let me remind everybody of what happened in the last game against the Jets. Okay, it was at New York. They ended up winning by a lot, but I'm pretty sure that Tua either threw for no touchdown passes or one. Okay. Miami had, I think, 2 defensive touchdowns, maybe, including
defensive touchdown. They had 2 rushing touchdowns, and defensive touchdown. I think Tua threw for 1.
Yeah, he threw for 1.
Maybe not.
I don't think he threw for anything. Okay, how about that? And I know he threw an abysmal pick 6. Okay, against the Jets. And you have Tyreek Hill, who might be hurt. Right? I think this game could be. Listen. It's not like playing in New York where it's cold and whatever. Miami's at home, and they're obviously going to be very motivated coming off the loss. And normally I would say they might lay it on the Jets, but the Jets are just really, really nasty to play against, okay? Wherever you are. And I wouldn't get too nuts playing going too crazy with Miami in this game, if that's what people were thinking of doing. Now, if Tyreek Hill is out for some reason, then it's going to be kind of tough to not play Waddle just because of the way he's going to project. Not to mention other guys in that receiving core. But I think that if you want to play the Miami guys, maybe you try playing the running backs. But again, the same argument I always have, you know, like you have 2 guys, yes, they can each smash, but you just don't know which one it's going to be. And it is a split backfield against a good defense. I'm kind of, what I would say is that if I'm going to play Miami, I'm going to play some Jets. Okay. And I'm going to play Garrett Wilson, and I'm going to play Zach Wilson. I've been stubborn about the whole season, okay, and Breece Hall as well. So I think that you can play this game, and if you do, I think I would definitely include some Jets into the mix.
I think for large field tournaments, the Jets are very, very interesting. The problem, like the Garrett Wilson is the only one who's really going to get 0 ownership at all is Zach Wilson. Because I actually think Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall are really good plays and will be popular by the time Sunday rolls around.
Maybe.
I also think Tyler Conklin is in play. He, 3,100 tight end who's getting, he gets the work for them. He's getting 9, 10. He just hasn't gotten in the end zone, but he does one of these days. And this is the kind of matchup where you should have your best offensive performance. If just go ask Tennessee. Tennessee did it all in 3 minutes. That was the weird part. On the Miami, I don't really think that I need to play Tyreek against the Jets. I think that he's fine. He has to get a ton to not beat you. I'd be shocked if he sat. I don't think I'm going to get to Waddle. Their early ownership projection, I'm not really understanding, but I don't think that either of these guys are especially in play. The only way I play Tyreek is if Tyreek ends up sub 10%. I just think it's the right thing to do to usually gamble on it. He's just expensive, so where it's hard to even make that case. But I think the main plays for me are Hall and Garrett Wilson. But I certainly don't mind your idea of getting creative and playing a Zach Wilson stack. And Cheech, what you could do if you play a Zach Wilson stack is, one, you could throw in the Conklin, but also you have the minimum cost receivers that you could sort of gamble on if you wanted to go that route. Just
play Randall Cobb, right?
Randall Cobb, why not? All right, what do you got next? You want to start this one off?
Yeah. So again, you guys have, for those of you that have been watching these videos for a couple of years, I mean, you'll know that I forget that I'm not a homer. I don't even care about the teams really.
Yeah.
But I've been saying, listen, I've been supporting the Zach Wilson thing for a while, and let me say something about the Giants and Tommy DeVito in general. Okay, so he came into the game against Vegas and basically, he 15 for 20. They let him throw the ball 2 yards downfield. Then he went up against Dallas, and Dallas was like a 6K defense, and DeVito got just, he couldn't do anything. Okay, yeah. Dallas was a good defense. He did literally nothing. But I was even commenting that he got reps, all right, and he's going to get better, all right. He had a pretty reasonable game against Washington. He had I don't want to say reasonable game, but he got a win.
He was a game managing game against
whatever, and he was just fine last week. Now I'm not going to play him this week, but I'm just figure I'd throw it out there. What I might play, and this is you call it chasing, call it whatever, but any of these receivers are worth playing, okay? Starting with what I think is going to be probably a pretty freaking popular Wan'Dale Robinson. Coming off that last game that he had at 30, and he's now 3,700, and you have not a great defensive environment, but a good weather environment inside a dome. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at early ownership projection. They already have it 17%.
Yeah.
I'm at 17%. So if you wanted, again, get a little different from that, you could play any of the other ones, Hyatt, Slate, and not to stack the game, not to expect too much from the Giants, obviously, but just to have a one-off in your lineup to make the rest of your lineups work. I think it's totally reasonable. The other side of this is sort of interesting. So you're going to have Alvin Kamara again. He's going to, I guess, project okay. I don't know, man. I just don't think I'm going to do it. That's the best I can describe this. I think I'd rather find the 700 for McCaffrey, than have to play Alvin Kamara. Taysom Hill, is he going to be back? I'm not sure. Chris Olave, 7,100. I guess that's reasonable enough. Or I guess that would be the one play I would have from this game is maybe Olave. I don't even know who's quarterbacking. I guess Carr is going to quarterback. They still have
Carr. Yeah.
I don't know. I think this game is going to be pretty low scoring. I guess the guy I have to think about is Barkley, right? I mean, I saw a stat. Now, I'm going to get this wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's had the most touches of any running back in the NFL this year or something.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if that wasn't true because it feels like that every week.
I mean, it's crazy that he's actually stayed healthy a whole season,
Yeah.
And if that's the case, and good weather, I have a tough time not playing him.
I mean, even in these games where they don't score points, he's productive. You know what I mean? I like the Barkley thing. I'm in on that completely. He's probably maybe my favorite play that we've talked about at running back so far. Look, I'm all in. I'm always good with Chris Olave. Chris Olave, Mike Evans is something you could ask yourself. I would rather play Mike Evans. I think it's a higher ceiling. I still don't mind taking a shot on A.T. Perry, even though he only had the one big catch for 44 yards. You do have Lynn Bowden, who got some work last week, but I just don't think it's deep enough. It feels like I'm reaching with the Giants wide receivers. I don't know, man. It is a different situation with DeVito, but I kind of think that DeVito's a better play than they are. I actually think DeVito's going to be I think he'll be one of the more popular quarterbacks. I really do. He's 5K and he has running ability and he allows you to do a lot of things. I mean, Sabersim has him early in the week projected at 10% owned. If he ends up over 7% owned, that makes him one of the most popular quarterbacks because nobody ends up more than.
Sure does.
So I kind of, maybe you could talk yourself in, but what I would do is I would not be playing DeVito, I don't think, without Saquon. I think I would play DeVito, Saquon, and then one of Wan'Dale, Slayton, or Hyatt, and you want to run back with I don't want Kamara this week. They made it very clear that Jamal Williams is definitely going to get some work because Jamal Williams got a lot of carries near the goal line and away from the goal line. And you run it back with either Olave or A.T. Perry, or maybe go back to the Juwan Johnson play that I thought was a good sneaky play last week. But he dropped a huge play early in the game, and I just never quite recovered, and Jimmy Graham got the touchdown, not him. But I think you could do something here, but I don't know if I'm going to play DeVito, but I think he's interesting. So I'm going to have to revisit that one closer to Sunday. All right, what do you have for the next Houston Texans?
Houston and Tennessee.
Oh, we have a history here. There was a rule for a while. It was whenever DeAndre Hopkins played Tennessee, you absolutely had to play him. He just literally tortured this team forever. The problem is now he's on Tennessee, so I don't know what to do with that. And he's playing Houston. He's playing his old team. So what do you do with that? Anyway, go ahead, Cheats.
Well, first of all, you have C.J. Stroud is still in concussion protocol. So that's a big deal right off the bat. And I mentioned this, and you have Nico Collins didn't play the rest of the game on Sunday. So I don't know where he is. And with what's his name still out, the Tank Dell's out for the year, I guess. What's that going to look like? If in fact Nico Collins is out, then you have Noah Brown and Robert Woods, and you probably even get a third guy that shows up, whoever that would be. I don't even know who that'd be.
Xavier Hutchinson or something.
Something like that. But Noah Brown at 5K, if you can get the whatchamacallit, if you can get CJ Stroud's arm in the game, you know what I mean? I think that's going to be, like, I would say chalk, right? I mean, like, people love to play passing guys against Tennessee, right? Mm-hmm. And it seems to make a lot of sense. I don't know if I would do it if they don't have the starting quarterback, though. But whatever. On the Tennessee side, I don't know. It's December and Derrick Henry's playing. I don't know. Listen, I'll tell you this: it is in the game against Miami. Yeah. He was 17 rushes for 34 yards, right? Yeah. And he still had 18 fantasy points. It's like because they jammed him in for 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. He has 6 touchdowns, or he's 2 touchdowns in each of his games so far in December.
I mean, I'll tell you, you give me 17 rushes. I mean, like, I don't know, man. It's not like narrative or Dehember, whatever it is, dude. It could be cold. Houston, a soft team. You know what I mean? Like, I think Tennessee is just gonna listen. I know Levis had a good game, whatever, but I think at the end of the day, or at least the beginning of the day, they're just gonna feed Henry, just try to jam it down Houston's throat. And if God forbid it works at the beginning, it's just gonna be worse. You know what I mean? It's gonna get more and more and more. So I don't know. I don't see him projecting all that well. I just hope he doesn't, and I hope that he gets low owned somehow. Because to me, this is probably what you're supposed to do.
I like it. I don't know what to do with this game on the Houston side without knowing about Stroud and Collins. Like, I really don't even think it's – I would just be speculating. We could talk about a million different scenarios, but I think we're just better off saving it for Sunday because I don't know. I honestly don't know what to say. I really like this as a game stack if Stroud plays. And I think that you could even do it without the quarterbacks. But I mean, look, whatever happens with Houston, they're going to have their receipt, whether it's Collins, Brown, Woods, Mechie, Hutchinson, all these guys, whatever group is out there, I'm going to be very into. So if Stroud goes, I like that idea with Stroud. I actually think Levis is in play too on the other side. Houston's defense, not exactly their strong suit. I wish this game was in Houston, so it was in a dome. Might be a little rainy, it looks like, in Tennessee this weekend. It's obviously a little ways away. But both Hopkins and Derrick Henry I have as very strong plays. So I'm kind of in on this one, Chiefs. This is my next game stack that I liked a little bit after the first one.
Yeah, I haven't gotten any game stacks I like. We'll get there in a minute.
Are there any? That's good.
Yeah, there are 5 teams. I told you there are 5 teams I like, and there are 6 teams in the 4 o'clock window. So
we're back to the 4 o'clock thing again. Okay.
All right, so KC at New England, kind of a weird game, you know.
Feels like it's supposed to be a good game, right?
I guess. I mean, you have Andy Reid going in. Listen, you have a very, very weak and frail. I would say frail, kind of fragile situation in New England. kind of a sort of fragile situation with the Kansas City offense nowadays. So you have and then you have two of the best coaches ever. You know what I mean? Trying to right the ship, or I don't even know if Belichick's trying to right the ship. Even I think he's just trying to. I don't know what he's trying to do. Just trying to do whatever to win games. You know what I mean? Just that guy will be trying hard to win games when he's at 100. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And Andy Reid, that's coming off that loss. And then you have the narrative of what's his name of Belichick trying to take away the best player. I don't even know who that would be. I guess Kelsey, I suppose, from Kansas City. And then not only that, but you have Pacheco, who remains questionable, dealing with a shoulder.
Yeah,
I think that if Pacheco is healthy and in, I think he's a really good play. I think that you could treat this one of two ways with if you're Andy Reid, you could either continue to try to find receivers that can do something, or you could just hand it to basically your best player right now, being Pacheco, and just try to cram it down New England's throat and hope that New England's offense is no good, right? So maybe that's enough. And so you have to watch, obviously, for the injury news. I will say that there's an obvious GPP play here that I'm definitely going to do, and it's got to be the most hated offside Kadarius Toney at 3,100.
Yeah,
okay? Have to play that. Aside from that, I mean, Pacheco, Toney, and aside from that, I think the game's going to be just kind of a low scoring, 20-7 games.
You have you finished with the same thought that I had about this game. Give me a Kadarius Toney shot, and I'll take it.
Yeah.
And by the way, in that vein too, I don't even think it's wrong to take a shot on MVS either.
I was just about to say the same thing.
Yeah. The problem is that you could say that for a lot, but these are the guys with actually big playability, and the fact that they had Toney on all the drives that mattered last the other game made a difference for me. Kelsey's probably the only logical, just straightforward play in this game.
I mean, listen, this is the way they probably should price Rashee Rice, if you know what I mean. If he's targeted as much as he should, I guess. I mean, all these 3K guys can do it.
Yeah.
But, you only need one touchdown, right? That's really all you need.
Right. I mean, we've seen it. We keep, if that way it allows us to spend up on the guys we actually want. So I'm not.
Right. So if you play the 1 o'clock games and you have 160 points or something like that, and you have no player, you're just freaking toast. Okay. So let's get to these last these 6 games. And I'll just start by saying I like 5 of the teams, if maybe a 6th. Okay. So we're going to start with San Francisco, Arizona, and San Francisco is just a freaking wrecking machine, offensively. They have weapons. They have a guy who knows how to get the ball to them, and all the other stuff about Purdy is this, Purdy is that. I mean, what do you want the guy to do? You know what I mean? What else you want the guy to do? He does exactly what he's told. He gets the ball in the weapons' hands. They just don't lose. That's it. And by the way, I can hand the ball off to Christian McCaffrey if I feel like it. You know what I mean? Whatever. So. I like McCaffrey. I like Purdy. I like all the receivers. They also keep the pedal to the metal for quite a while.
Yeah.
I've seen them throw these 30-yard touchdown passes down the field when they're up 20. I've seen it. You got Samuel and Ayuk. They both love to score. They like to get the ball. They like to get McCaffrey touchdowns. And I'll tell you, that coach is like. He's definitely like a player's coach, you saw Samuel had catch this ball, and just after running all the way through the field, just got caught at the 1 yard line, where 99% of the time they would just give the ball to McCaffrey. Then they're like, okay, stay in there, Debo. We'll get you the ball and you'll get your touchdown. And they did it. You know what I mean? So I like all of San Francisco. I guess the question is, do you want to run it back with Arizona? Do you want to turn this into a game stack? And if so, who do you play? I mean, James Conner, 5,700, obviously not terrible. Greg Dortch, 4,100. Rondell Moore, 3,400. Marquise Brown is probably going to practice this week, so makes those plays not quite as good. Michael Wilson is back in practice? I don't know. So And then you have, Kellen Winslow, aka Trey McBride. I think all these receivers are in play, and I almost want to take a shot at Kyler Murray also. So I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna say that I like all 6 teams in this window. So I like both sides of this game.
Yeah, I think this is the going to end up being the chalkiest part of the slate, but I can't figure out exactly how it's going to happen. Like Purdy is going to be owned. I think it's going to be Purdy to McCaffrey is like the normal build because it's hard to get the money to work. And you're going to see a lot of on the other side. You're going to see a lot of Marquise Brown, which has not worked yet. I don't think with Kyler back. I think it's very interesting to take a shot on Dortch if you're going to play something this chalky. Because I think this game may end up being like that. Samuel. His price is going up and his projection, but like there is still a massive ceiling for him. I have no problem with Samuel at 7,700. He might be the lower on piece, or going to Kittle at tight end and maybe playing a Kittle McBride double tight end stack. There's a lot of ways to do it. The one thing I know is that I definitely want exposure to this game. I agree that I just think we have to just pile on. I just don't know if I want to make it like my entire stack because I think it's going to be the base stack. Unfortunately, I keep doing that every week and it's cost me a lot of money because it's been the winning stack like every week.
Well, I don't know. I literally can't tell the difference between these last 3 games. So we can talk about it. So let's just start with like what was pretty obvious. How about a Samuel lineup as we head into this Washington game? So first on the Rams side, I think both those receivers are still relatively inexpensive, considering the opponent. I think the running back, Kyren Williams, I have him projected as the best running back on the slate right now, even better than McCaffrey. Obviously not, just not raw points, but so
maybe raw points though.
Maybe. So all these Rams look great. And Washington, they slinging around. Sam Howell I think Sam Howell's going to get over 10% ownership. And then you play Curtis Samuel again and McLaurin. And I think this is I literally can't tell the difference between this game and the San Francisco game with respect to which one I like the most.
Yeah, this is a definitely one that I'm going to be all over. Kyren Williams may end up being the highest owned player. I think he's a terrific play. I'm going to have to figure out what I want to do with that later because I as of right now, I'm in. I'm also, look, Kupp is still banged up. No question about it. He looked a little better last week, and Puka looked pretty good last week. They're playing back at home, and it's a team that gives up all kinds of passing yards. Yep. Maybe do it. A good friend of ours, I'll say, a good friend of mine who well from way back in the day, he looked like he had a shot at the million because he had stacked Stafford. Who did he have? Stafford and Kupp, and then he had the
no way, really?
Likely and he had all kinds of stuff from that game, and it just looked like he was like in the top 30 of the million with all the time left, but then it just sort of faded at the end. He didn't get the last possession because the pick 6. Anyway, I'm sorry. The kick was the kickoff. All right, so I actually like this whole game. Puka and Kupp were going to be very low owned, which seems very strange against Washington. I am very happy to play those guys. And I like McLaurin, Samuel, and Dotson on the other side. I also like Logan Thomas. And I wouldn't mind if you want to get a little bit of Davis Allen, who looked very good. Nobody knows who this guy is, okay? But he looked very good last week. They were working him in. And assuming that Higby's out, I would give some Davis Allen looks. I mean, and he looked like a tough kid. I don't know. I like him. So I'm with you all about this game myself. So and by the way, I like the Washington. I like the Howell side as well. I think he's just going to be chucking it. So I'm very into this game.
And if you didn't like either of those 2 games, you have Dallas Buffalo.
I'm going to throw out one last thing I want to mention. Don't be surprised if the Rams win that game by like 30. That's the one thing I would be scared about. It's a must win for the Rams. They're going to bring out all the stops. Just be a little worried about that. Sorry, James, go ahead.
And then if you don't like any of that, I mean, you have Dallas Buffalo. And likewise, I can't tell the difference. I mean, listen, I can tell the difference because, different players, different prices and stuff like that. But you have Lamb and Pollard and Josh Allen and Prescott and Diggs and Ferguson and all the stuff, So this game could go freaking ballistic. It really can. Now Buffalo games have not. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Like last week, people were expecting a little bit more out of the Kansas City game, so whatever.
Yeah.
This game could be 45-40 for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? So you could make an argument for literally Xing out all of the 1 o'clock games, with the exception of like maybe like some random pieces or whatever.
Yeah.
And just sit back on your ass and just say, okay, everybody, just get all your scores, and then I'll just see if I can catch you. Because
I'll figure out what I need to beat at 3:30 Eastern.
Something like that. But
yeah, I like that. I think this is the highest total we've had on the main. I don't think we've had a total over 50 on the main slate all season long. And this game is 50.5. So, they're going to be very hard to argue against this game being stackable. Now, what's great and tough about that is that no one is projected to be owned, really.
How?
Because they're expensive.
Okay.
But look, I don't mind going back a little bit to Shakir. We'll see about Kincaid's health. If he's out, Dawson Knox opens this game up because he's 2,700. I'll go right back to Gabe Davis and Diggs again. I don't mind at all if guys let me down, whatever. I'm not going to sit there and say I won't play this guy anymore. CeeDee Lamb has been he's been the second best receiver in football this season. And remember, Dallas does not have their best, one of the best corners in football available, hasn't for a few weeks now. So that seems like the natural way to do it would be the Lamb. I think the receivers are more interested in the running backs, but I do think that, we saw Cook have a nice game, and he was sort of the low-owned one last week in those games. I think that this could be another decent spot for Cook. I'm having a hard time with the Pollard thing in general, just because I've been very disappointed in what I've seen. But yeah, the long and short of it, this is a great game to stack. I agree that the stuff that you want is the afternoon games. I have, I'm trying to rank them in order. It's really hard for me to do. Because I do like the Houston, Tennessee game from the first part of the day, and I do like the Green Bay, Tampa Bay, but maybe I just use them as my fringier pieces, or maybe I do the Green Bay stack, on the super cheap, so I can play Buffalo, Dallas, or something like that. But some individual plays that stood out, especially for me overall: Kyron Williams, Bijan Robinson, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Saquon Barkley, DeAndre Hopkins, Derrick Henry, Elijah Moore. Those are the guys who I had as notes that I wanted to get exposure to. But the 5 game stacks are the ones that I mentioned. And I think if I had to lean one way or another right now, I probably would feel most comfortable with a Buffalo Josh Allen stack above everything else.
Okay, so I'm gonna put 3 plays up in this. This is what, Wednesday? Like, it's like 100 slates between now and the main event. There's like 100 things that we're gonna forget about all this. But so if everybody's worried about Dallas, Buffalo being too expensive, everybody's too expensive, San Francisco, everybody's too freaking expensive. Let me throw a couple of guys in here from the 1 o'clock games. All right, I'll give you one popular one. That would be Wan'Dale Robinson at 3,700. Another guy is, I'm going to surprise you with the last one. Actually, no. From the Jets, I will give you 3,200 Xavier Gibson.
Okay.
I think he's actually the second receiver on the Jets. Didn't look that way, but there was like another 3K guy that you may have mentioned that. No, I think that was it. So if you like play those 2 guys, and then it's 4 o'clock and Wan'Dale Robinson has 13 and like Xavier Gibson has like 11 or something like that, or 10, and you're sitting there with all those expensive guys, you're going to be like a genius.
Yeah, there's a million things you can do. You're in good shape. And even if you're off to a bad start, you can just switch it over to play the Kyler Murray stack against San Francisco or something. You know what I mean?
Really cheap. Here, what's I thinking about? This, not the Saints, Jets, Miami. Oh, well, obviously, if Tyreek Hill is out, then you could do some stuff from there. The Tennessee, I forgot the tight end from Tennessee is going to look good, cheap. And obviously Noah Brown, 5K if you get the right environment. Oh, and I forgot the other one. Oh, and this guy, we forgot about him. The freaking nuts. So 2 of these 3 guys. So Gibson, Wan'Dale Robinson, or Kadarius Toney. Now you don't want to use them all because you want to use the receivers from the late game. Okay, but I think that's what you do. You get rid of Wan'Dale Robinson, 16% ownership. Then you play Xavier Gibson, Kadarius Toney as your cheapos, and then you can play all this chalk in the late, not chalk, but all these expensive guys in the late games like McCaffrey and whatever it is. Now, again, early in the day, I would go back to what I said. I agree with you about Saquon Barkley though early. Derrick Henry early. What other running backs? I guess Ford.
Bijan.
Yeah, Bijan is not bad. Ford. The weather could be whatever. Ford isn't the worst either, I don't think.
I would worry about Ford because I watch Cleveland quite a bit, and they give every big play to every near the goal line is Hunt.
Kareem Hunt or whatever.
Yeah, and Hunt is their production's actually been fairly similar.
Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley.
It's a lot of good running backs.
Pacheco, if he's in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so running backs early. Then I could play like CeeDee Lamb in the late game with Diggs or something like that. Yeah. So that's my early look. Is that it's an afternoon slate type thing. But who knows? That, like you said, maybe you're right. Maybe that Tennessee game goes off. Maybe DeAndre Hopkins gets 3 touchdowns or something like that.
Absolutely, that would be nice. All right, guys. We'll see you at 11 Eastern on Sunday.
But we'll see you with other content from all the different slates between now and then.
For sure, absolutely. All right, Cheats. Have a good day, man, and good luck to everybody this week. And hopefully we'll see you Sunday at 11 a.m.